So, ladies and gentlemen, I want to welcome you to my presentation today, and the title of my presentation is Unmasking Reality in the Universe. My name as the presenter and author of this work is Professor Charles F.L. Mbakaya. Email address, two email addresses, cflmbakaya@gmail.com. The other alternate email address is cmbakaya@hotmail.com, and I am based in Kenya. So the way I'm going to make this presentation is that I will be sitting and largely read through my text and occasionally show a few diagrams for you to see how the thought of this presentation developed. So with that, let me just look at my laptop and start making the presentation. So, ladies and gentlemen, what we know is that the classical world, which is the Newtonian world, is associated with macroscopic objects. These include things like cats in the Schrödinger thought experiment, human beings, buildings, and oceans. While the quantum world is more associated with the microscopic matter, which may include things as free atoms, electrons, and subatomic particles, even including muons, neutrinos, free radicals, and small molecules. They form what we call microscopic things. Now, reality is traditionally associated with things which are physical and visible. But from my last YouTube video that was talking about theological, scientific, and philosophical view of the universe, I was able to show that by interacting in electromagnetic radiation with matter or nature, you find that there is an active conversion of what is physical and visible, converting to what is non-matter, and this tends to go back and forth. That when matter interacts with electromagnetic radiation, the matter picks up some quanta specific to the tasks at hand that enable it to convert to non-matter, which in many cases could be at the quantum level and microscopic level. So these conversions that happen at phenomenal speeds tend to complicate our observations of the universe, our measurements of things, and overall, this actually affects our experience of what is real. However, it is also thought that there is another state of matter called fractons, which is inherently immobile and remains poorly understood and may need to be catered for to make the quantum theory complete. You know,
this new phase of matter, which we are calling fractons, and where it features in the quantum theory is not clear. And scientists believe that by trying to feature fractons into the quantum theory, we could be moving towards making this theory more complete. Now, it is also known that when fractons combine with their counterpart, mobile forms of matter, they can again become mobile. That is, while fractons are a form of matter that is largely immobile, when they do combine with a mobile form of matter, then the pairing leads to the possibility of it again becoming mobile. Now, equally, I've been wondering why when matter converts to non-matter, it can move around at high speeds, but always return to the source. So what is this that makes the matter that moves around in high speeds return to the source? What is that that locates that source? And that's part of what I am wondering about in trying to understand reality. So my question, therefore, is why does it return to the same point from where it became non-matter? And the answer to this question is that it looks like during this process of matter converting from matter to non-matter, which is largely microscopic, something remains immobile at that location. And that which is immobile and remaining at that location probably provides the mobile non-matter with a reference point to which to return after going around the world or whatever it is. This being to provide a geographical information similar to maybe what we call geographical information system. So something in matter locates its position, even if it moves around as non-matter, but something stays behind to locate this position. And I'm just wondering, what is that that locates the position? So put another way, matter, which in my earlier video I said is bound by gravity, that it is gravity that puts atoms and molecules together to make the matter which we see as a physical entity. Now, this matter, when matter interacts therefore with light and becomes non-matter, it then moves around the world. And however, because of the need for it to return to the point from which it became non-matter, something that locates this non-matter must therefore be immobile. And so with all this in the background, we take about reality. So when matter interacts with electromagnetic radiation, where energy is absorbed in quanta to prosecute certain excitations and transitions that make matter exist in both the classical and quantum worlds, the process can be summarized in the following new equation, which I could call the new matter-non-matter equation. And that equation is what I summarize here in this figure on the flip chart. So the matter-non-matter equation, according to me, could be this: that when matter, which can be in the form of physical things such as cats, humans, buildings, and oceans, and this is being macroscopic. But we could also have this also as microscopic, to the extent that this matter, which is bound by gravity, so it has gravity binding it together. Now, when you interact this matter with radiation in the forms of quanta, then you have an equilibrium that is between non-matter and matter. But with the non-matter dividing into the immobile phase, which carries gravity with it, it has some mass and probably no volume. The other form of non-matter is the mobile part of it, which carries the quanta, the energy that splits matter into non-matter, and has no mass, but with smeared volume. So we can see that matter interacts with radiation to become non-matter, and the non-matter is in two phases, an immobile phase and a mobile phase. So that while the mobile phase of the matter moves around the world, the immobile phase stays behind. It could be like the frame in which the matter sits. And so this breaks down our impression of non-matter to contain two forms, providing for this form, which then I might want to call, this might be what the scientists are referring to as fractons. Fractons, okay? A form of matter which is immobile. And the reason why this matter is immobile is because it is the one that carries gravity. While the one that is the one that is mobile is the one that carries quanta. And together we have matter existing together with non-matter in equilibrium, and this equilibrium between matter and non-matter is what then we call superposition. So matter relating with non-matter is a superposition. But matter, non-matter, which is immobile, relating with the mobile aspects of the non-matter, this is what the interaction between these is what we call entanglement. Entanglement. While the interaction between matter and non-matter is what we call superposition. And together, the superposition and entanglement together present to us what is reality. And so, why then would, when matter becomes non-matter, still look like it is present in the position where this happens? Like where I'm sitting. If I become non-matter and possess an immobile and a mobile phase, why would I look the same? I would look the same because it would appear that matter that is physical and which we see becomes non-matter, which is immobile and mobile, but these also look the same. So it would appear that matter and non-matter look the same. That's why even when matter becomes non-matter, we still can see things. We still can think that we are seeing things, yet those things have moved and they are moving around, but we still see them. So it means that how this one looks is similar to how non-matter in its two components look. And so we may just want to see how this concept of this equation came to my mind, and we can show you another diagram which came to my mind as I was thinking about what is real and how is it that things are in superposition. And in that diagram, you can see that when matter interacts with light, it becomes non-matter, which will be a component of the immobile phase, which is what we call, some of these may be what is referred to as fractons, and then it is also the mobile things, some of which are now all sorts of things, neutrinos, electrons, things moving around in a microscopic form. And so when matter interacts with this matter in this manner, we get what we call superposition, while when the fractons or the immobile aspect of matter interacts with the mobile phase of matter, this is what we refer to as entanglement. And together, this is what gives us the world that we are trying to understand, its reality. Okay? So this is what is going on. So with that kind of thinking, what are my parting shots in this presentation? So in this presentation, I want to say that from the equation I've given here, and probably this is now a new equation, from this equation that shows matter and non-matter in a state of equilibrium, this equation summarizes reality while providing for quantum gravity and quantum mechanics, thereby completing the quantum theory that scientists think has always been incomplete. So you see, in this equation of matter interacting with radiation to form non-matter, we are providing for all the things that probably happen. And this could answer some of the questions that earlier scientists, including Einstein and others, had problems with the quantum theory, indicating that something about the quantum theory was incomplete. What is the other message I take home? That the relationship between matter and non-matter is what is referred to as superposition. So the relationship between matter and non-matter is what we refer to as superposition. That things are existing in both the physical and quantum worlds in a manner that is about superposition. Thirdly, we want to say that the relationship between the immobile and mobile phases of non-matter is what we refer to as entanglement. And this entanglement suggests that while the mobile phase might have an overall down spin, for example, the immobile phase might have an overall up spin, so that the two spins overall are in entanglement, whatever the distance between the two phases. Fourthly, we want to say that the immobile phase of non-matter is what scientists most probably refer to as fractals. And scientists have been wondering, where do fractals come from? And so we are showing that when matter becomes non-matter, having interacted with the electromagnetic radiation, it forms two sets of non-matter, an immobile phase, which is where we think the fractals are, and the mobile phase, which then are the things which are flying around the world. The fifth point we want to observe from this presentation is that from this equilibrium, the equation we have provided here applies for both the microscopic as well as the macroscopic world. We've shown that even as Schrödinger was thinking about cats and trying to see how they fit in the quantum dynamics. This is what makes that happen. This equation actually shows that that happens. That things, whether they are physical, whether we can see them, whether they are macroscopic or even microscopic, they are subject to this transformation. And so this then gives us a departure from this thinking that quantum mechanics can only be demonstrated in the microscopic world. We are saying that this is happening even in the physical world, in the Newtonian world. So these worlds are just interacting. And that interaction creates superpositions. And that interaction at the microscopic world gives us the immobile things and the mobile things. The sixth point I want to raise from this presentation is that thus, in the macroscopic world, matter is often in superposition with its other two forms. That is the immobile form, which probably gives us the structure, the architecture of the physical world, and which carries gravity with it, and the mobile phase, which carries the quantum mechanics aspects of things. Hence, for superposition to be, it would appear that these three phases are similar in appearance in the microscopic world, thereby complicating reality. So that things might be matter and then become non-matter, but they look the same. And that is what, so the interesting thing is that when matter becomes non-matter, it still looks the same. Even as things are running around, this immobile phase of the matter probably is what gives the structure of the matter that looks a certain thing. So it is this immobile phase that stays around and continues to look like things are present when the mobile phase has run away and is going around the world and coming back. Meaning, we don't quite get to know if the phase being seen is the original matter that we are looking at, or one of its other forms that is non-matter, which is in the form of immobile or fractal phase, and the mobile phase that goes around, which is like the electrons which smear around and which respond to the wave function that Schrödinger was talking about. Now, the observations in this presentation raise the possibility that aliens in the universe might be forms of mobile and immobile non-matter. So, when we see aliens and we are saying, what have we seen somewhere? It could be an immobile phase of matter that we are seeing, while the mobile phase has taken off. And this might also apply with the astronauts. When they fly into the outer space, you find that astronauts now lose gravity and they are in motion which is, there's no gravity. So what is happening there? They have lost gravity. They have lost the component of themselves that has gravity. And probably that is lost at a certain altitude towards the heavens. At a certain altitude, they lose the component that carries gravity. And so they continue to space, having left that component that carries gravity, which we are also saying put together, that could be the component that has fractons. While the one that goes with them to space is the mobile phase, which also looks like the one they have left that contains gravity. And so, when people start to see, you may see some astronauts hanging around where they left their fractons, or where they left their immobile forms of non-matter as they proceed to the heavens. I think this sounds interesting, and it requires that scientists can interrogate it further to see what happens that could explain this phenomena that is in the universe. So as I conclude, I want to say that the equation we've come up with here that shows matter interacting with non-matter by a relationship that is referred to as superposition. We also see within non-matter these things engaging at entanglement level, where the immobile is in entanglement with the mobile. And this immobile, especially in the macroscopic world, has some weight. So it is non-matter, but it has weight, and yet it has no volume. Probably the fact that it has no volume is what makes it not quite matter. And equally, the mobile one that has no mass also it does not qualify to be matter. So this entanglement is what provides non-matter its properties. And so when the non-matter interacts with the matter, we have the superposition. And all this is what reality is all about. That things would be either in the form of matter or in the form of non-matter, where we have immobile phases as well as mobile phases that can run around the world and come back at very phenomenal speeds as if nothing has happened. So that is why reality has been a big problem to describe. You know, things are moving around while they look like they are stationary. When we think some things are present, they have disappeared, yet we are seeing them. So sometimes we are wondering, what is it that we say we are seeing? But this equation therefore now tells us either you are seeing the real matter, or you are seeing forms of the non-matter that apparently also appear to look the same as the non-matter, as matter. And this is what, in my view, complicates reality. So, ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for listening to my presentation, which is also available for comment. We would be happy to hear some comments from those who will listen to us on YouTube, so that we can enhance our understanding of reality, especially in this 21st century. Thank you very much, and God bless us all.